Well, good evening, Denver Broncos country. Welcome to the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast. We are more than just a podcast. I guess we also have that page that does all that fun stuff and, posts and different things, but mainly the podcast. I'll be honest. But we're brought to you by Rocky Mountain Sports Network. We're sponsored by Morgan Trinkets. My name is Keith Brugman, and it feels like a Friday night because typically on Tuesday night we got this full, sometimes we call it the Four Horsemen, but man, on Fridays it's usually just me and Trevor hanging out. So it feels like a Friday, man. Welcome, Trevor. Welcome into the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast. Say hello to everybody, just like Ernie Mays is doing already. I see you, Ernie. I'll be right with you. How you doing, Trevor?
I'm doing great, Keith. Excited to be here. And again, a couple weeks until training camp. It's right around the corner. We're right there. It's just getting to the finish line as far as creating content for everybody. And pretty soon we're going to be having a ton to talk about. So I can't wait to get it started tonight and with what we do have for everybody. But I'm excited to be here and just get ready to rock and roll.
I got to be honest, man. Sometimes I rack my brain during this time, trying to come up with the ideas and thoughts and something new and something fresh. But I'll tell you what, Mr. Salzman, he's got a brain all his own, man. He brought some great, fantastic topics. If you guys read the ad, man, this is really all about him, man. And I really thought I'm excited for tonight, man. I'm excited to talk about the topics that we have on the table, man, because like you said, man, it's not easy during this time. Nothing's happening. We don't see all those players out there, heaven forbid we see an injury or something like that during training camp, but there's always something to talk about. But right now we're in that lull. No one's getting signed. No one's doing some workouts. If you're lucky, you get an Instagram feed about this time of year, and that's about it, man. But I'll tell you, man, we're lucky. We're lucky in a lot of ways. Not only to have Trevor with fantastic ideas, but we have Ernie Mays coming in, like I said, nice and early over on YouTube saying, "Go Broncos country only." Hello, Keith, and Trevor. And Trevor is what he probably meant to put in there, but he was so excited to get in here, man. Hit the send button a little bit too early, man. I tell you what, man, Ernie Mays, what a fantastic supporter of the show. We appreciate you so dang much, Ernie. Can't exhaust myself enough and the thank yous that I should be able to give you right now. Kind of like Michael Ronquillo. And Michael Ronquillo has been not only a fantastic supporter of the show from almost the get, but he's coming in here tonight. He's dropping stars. He's dropping 100 stars, giving us some love, man, kicking it off, Ronk style. Ronk in the house. Man, I love it, man. And Ronk, I love you, and I love that Bo Nix jersey, man, because I think we need to get a little excited about Bo Nix, man. We'll be talking a lot of different things leading up to this training camp. I don't know if we'll get into a little Bo Nix talk. It seems like it always works its way in, like a weevil in some wood, man. Just boring its way in. Kind of like Graham. Graham will kind of bore your way into your life, into your mind, into your soul if you pick up any of his music, man. He's quite the piano guy, by the way, guys. But Graham, appreciate it coming in over on YouTube saying hey guys as well, man. But Trevor, I want to let you, like I said, you came up with a huge agenda, a fantastic agenda. I kind of lined it out, but I want to let you kick it off, man. I want to let you start the show and tell us where we're going to go first and what we need to talk about. Trevor, where are we going, buddy?
Yeah, so first, again, we've got a great agenda out for everybody tonight, but we want to talk about coaches on, so that's just like that's Sean Payton, that's any of the coaches on this current Broncos staff that might be not I want to say hot seat, but on the warmer side of where they should be at. There's a couple coaches, not a ton. There's a couple coaches in particular that I have that I think are on the hot seat, and I'm sure there's our posse is going to agree with one of them. I know for sure because he's a guy that just he's been a guy that we wanted. Broncos country just doesn't overly like per se. No, but I mean that's just kind of the first thing I want to kind of talk about.
These coaches, man, these coaches that we always talk about these players, right? We're like, hey, this guy needs to step up. That guy needs to step. This guy's coming in. We want him to perform. This guy just came in as a free agent. I hope he fits the bill. But sometimes, man, it's all about those coaches and getting them ready and getting them prepped and getting them prepared, right? To go out there and execute what Sean Payton wants, what maybe a defensive coordinator wants as well. But anyway, I'll let you take it away, buddy. What do you got for us, buddy?
Yeah, so I've got, of course, one guy that you just kind of mentioned, Broncos defensive coordinator Vance Joseph is one guy that I think he's a little bit on the hot seat this year. I don't know if he's as hot as some may think, but I do think he's on the hot seat again. The defense was not good last year. Then there's different reasons for that, Keith. I think that there's not just Vance Joseph's fault because he can't bring in the players. I mean, yes, he has a say in what George Payton, Sean Payton, what players they bring in, but this defense was not good last year either, as far as from a talent perspective. We're talking about, again, the run defense being towards the bottom of the league, 30th in yards, rush touchdowns, they were 17th, yards average, they were 32nd. Just in general, 29th in just yards given up in general, 27th in points allowed. And then, of course, the one highlight of this season, and I think this is a big reason why the Broncos got to where they got, it was because of the takeaways, and they're 12th in takeaways. So again, Vance Joseph, yes, he's on the hot seat for multiple different reasons, and in a way, I guess he's a little warm. There's some that think it's because of Jim Leonard, who Sean Payton brought on as the coordinator. I do think that's part of it, but I don't think that that's the only reason. It's just because, again, VJ has got to be better. This defense has to be better this year if the Broncos have any chance of making it to the playoffs, and that's stopping the run. That's and regular pass defense as well. So for VJ, his seat's warm. I just don't know how hot it is. Jim Leonard, coming in his first year, he's been a more of a defensive coach in the college level. He's never done that on the pro side, so that's my backlash on the whole Jim Leonard thing. Like, oh, he might be Denver's DC this year, possibly, or even interim DC. There's a big step up from the college game to the pro game. I know he played back in the day, and I'm not saying that he doesn't know the schemes in the NFL and what works, but again, I think it takes a little while for him to get his feet wet. I don't know if Vance Joseph necessarily, there's a possibility that Vance Joseph goes through this year knowing where this Broncos team's at, and they're in that rebuilding phase. VJ may make it out throughout this entire year, and then we see it into next year. Maybe Jim Leonard takes over, and I say that because Jim Leonard, when he was at Wisconsin, was actually defensive backs coach in 2016. A year later, he took over as defensive coordinator in 2017. So he got a year under his belt, got to get his feet wet in the college level, and then he started leveling up. So VJ is definitely, his behind is definitely warm from last year. I think the Broncos this year, some of the personnel moves, specifically on the defensive line, Malcolm Roach and John Franklin Myers, will help. We'll see after that what happens. But Vance Joseph definitely is a guy to keep an eye on, I think, this year. But don't be surprised if he finishes throughout the year as well. Jim Leonard might be your DC coming into next year.
Man, I'll tell you what, VJ is a cat, man. Guy that always lands on his feet, man. It always lands on his feet. Never, as much heat as this guy has taken, man, he hasn't taken a day off during his tenure, man. Just keeps jumping from place to place, job to job. Seems to land on his feet, man. But I got to say hello to a few, man. Like, well, one of the horsemen, man, Albert, the Mile High Dutchie, coming in just saying just a quick hi and then back to work. Have a great show, guys. Well, man, have a great night at work. We love it when Albert and Jody are all on here, and we get to have a four horsemen type of night, man. But Albert, I understand work pulls you away from time to time, but there's nothing like having the Dutchie here, man. We miss you. Hope you have a fantastic evening. Get to relax at some point. I had a Michael Ronquillo's up there, comment up there. He said, Vance Joseph is on the warm seat for me. Ernie May is coming in saying, Vance Joseph, you mean, is on the hot seat. Michael saying a good evening to Albert. I like this one. Graham says, if Simmons' replacement isn't good this year, that shouldn't be necessarily on VJ, kind of going full circle on that whole VJ discussion. Mr. Kurt Valente of the amazing K&K Sports Show, of the amazing What's Up Broncos, right? Is that right? Did I do that right?
No,
What's Up Broncos?
No.
Let me. I got you messed up. Now I got you all messed up.
You got me all messed up. Let's talk Broncos. Let's talk Broncos.
Let's talk Broncos. What's up, Broncos? Let's talk Broncos. Sorry, Kurt. Sorry. Well, that just did. Kurt has been on a little vacay, and Let's Talk Broncos hasn't been on. And I was going to say I'm missing it so much, and I'm hoping it's on this Wednesday. You got to check out the K&K Sports Show to check out Let's Talk Broncos or What's Up Broncos. But he says, what's up, boys? Maybe that's why. Jim Leonard is in the building. Jim Leonard will eventually be the DC. Kind of alluding to what you were talking to. Maybe not right now. Maybe not this year. Maybe it's a full year of Vance Joseph. I don't know if Kurt's on the same page as that, but I could definitely see it as well. Got to get through all these. Pearl's coming in and saying hello. Kurt's saying defense is defense. Doesn't matter if it's college, NFL, or high school. OCs, I agree, is different level in the NFL. Defense is defense. So, hot seat for me too, says Pearl on Vance Joseph. Kurt's one last one from Kurt before I maybe get my 2 thoughts on this as well. As a DC, you have to be a leader, be emotional, be vocal. Leonard is going to be an unbelievable DC in his opinion. So let's talk Broncos. Laugh out loud. Yeah. Let's talk Broncos. Okay, everybody. Let's talk Broncos. Ernie Mays is reminding me. Kurt Valente is reminding me. Well-deserved vacation for Kurt is right. I agree. I think the VJ is on the hot seat. But, the way that we originally kind of put this out, and I want to go back to see if I can even read the ad. But the ones that are, for me, it's Jim Leonard. If I'm going to go on the defensive side of things, I'm going to go a different level, and I'm not saying that Jim Leonard's on the hot seat. It's something to prove, right? And it's for everything that we just saw in the chat. That was where my mind went. Everyone is coming in and saying, well, Jim Leonard's the replacement. Get rid of Vance Joseph. Jim Leonard's the guy. You know what I mean? And I think that Jim Leonard has a little bit to come in here and prove himself. So that's the kind of the coach I'm looking at. I want maybe Jim Leonard to be the replacement. I mean, let's face it. You bring people in your organization to hopefully, as rookies, be, a starter 2 years down the road, next year, 3 years down the road. But eventually you want to see some development. You want this guy out there and you want him out there performing and making big plays for you. No different in the coaching tree. And so if we brought in Jim Leonard and he's coming in with all this hype, Jim Leonard better come in, and he better come in and produce in some ways for me to make sure that I feel confident that everybody that wants to ship Vance Joseph out the door is doing it with a competent backup. So when my thought went on the defensive side, since you started on that side, my thought went to Jim Leonard just because of all the hype. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. I think I want to give Vance Joseph the benefit of the doubt because, again, personnel wasn't on his side last year. The Broncos weren't just talent-wise, weren't the greatest on the defense side of the ball. We still have to realize where this team's at. They are retooling, rebuilding, however you want to say it. They're still kind of doing that right now. So it's hard to hold a defensive coach accountable. Now you can't go giving up 70 points. I understand that. But again, we got to be realistic of where this team's at. Does Jim Leonard coaching last year's defense change it that much? Who knows? I mean, who knows? So I agree with you, though, on Jim Leonard needs to prove that he belongs because he hasn't been a coach in the NFL before. Mm-hmm. I think we need to see Riley Moss. If Riley Moss takes that step up this year in the secondary, and that's a big part of his development. is part from Jim Leonard or Caden Stearns, a guy that just hasn't figured it out yet. I think that a lot of what could possibly happen in the future depends on the guys in the secondary that Jim Leonard's in charge of, and that's the defensive backs. All these young defensive backs, Jim Leonard, if he gets them to play to where they should and their ceiling, then you have an argument to where, okay, maybe it can be that defensive coordinator for this team, because let's be honest, other teams will look at that. If Jim Leonard this year, if he gets Riley Moss and Kane Stearns to get to their ceiling, other teams will look at that and say, could he possibly be a defensive coordinator for us? And they'll try to get him away from Denver. So they're just, the performance has a lot to do with it. I guess that's what I'm trying to say and get out here. Performance is everything. We've got to see it from Jim Leonard too. We've got to see it from VJ, but Jim Leonard should absolutely be held accountable too. It's his first season. I don't think he's on the hot seat per se.
No.
But I do think that he has something to prove that he belongs being a coach in the NFL. Just because you play in the NFL doesn't mean that you belong being a coach in the NFL.
Correct. I didn't take this necessarily as like, hey, this guy's on the hot seat. He's going to be on his way off. He has something to prove. And, this is a guy on the defensive side. Yeah, we all say VJ, and I think that's an easy one. I need Jim Leonard to prove. So guys that don't need to prove themselves, guys like Phil McLaughlin coming in and saying, good evening, Keith and Trevor. For some reason, I didn't get notified on Facebook, and it will not give me a stars option. Well, I'll tell you what, man, it's like Christmas time, man. It's the thought that counts. We appreciate you very much. It's the gift of you being here, buddy. And he says, anyway, VJ is going to be gone after this year. I hope. So I don't think you're the only one there, man. And Graham's saying, I miss Bill Kohler. He was so good in terms of energy during practice. Could hear him yell from the seating area. Michael Ronquillo just reminding us it's that time of year. Players out there holding their little camps all over the country, usually, in their little hometowns or where they went to college or the like. And Jarrett Stidham was held an event in Dallas, Texas on Monday and Tuesday. So that's pretty cool. And Jody Moncrief, talk about four horsemen. He was in a little bit earlier with a comment, but I'm sorry, Jody, it didn't necessarily pertain, but this one does. He says, Joe Lombardi is on the hot seat with Pete Carmichael here. So that's one of his choices. So I'm going to go back to you. And, we wanted to go a few choices, obviously, here. Who else do you have outside of Vance Joseph? I had Jim Leonard. I think there was a lot of agreement, obviously, from the posse. But where are we going next, buddy?
Yeah, I'm going to the offense side of the ball, and I think Jody went over there, and I think he was looking at my list because I have Joe Lombardi as well on the hot seat a little bit more, and maybe so more than VJ, honestly. And I'm going to explain why. There's a couple reasons for that. For one, like Jody said, Pete Carmichael was brought in over from the Saints over to the Broncos staff. He's a senior offensive assistant, senior. So that means he's going to have something to do with the offense that's pretty big. Yeah, now Sean Payton's going to call the plays, of course, and Sean Payton's still the guy in charge, but let's not kid ourselves. Pete Carmichael, there's a reason he brought Carmichael into this organization. And I think that, Lombardi, I think, again, yes, he was brought in by Sean Payton, but I think that, the Broncos have to be able to evaluate their other coaches as well. And I still think that, Pete Carmichael being the senior assistant and he's been an OC before, I think that there's something to be said for that. And I think that if this offense doesn't perform like it is this season, then I think you have something to argue about. I think I don't expect Lombardi to be fired like mid-season or anything like that. I think, again, you give it a full season and see what happens. If this offense is not where it needs to be, then you have a case for that. But there's another reason, and Jody didn't point this out yet, but I'm going to, that I think that Joe Lombardi could be on that warm seat a little bit, not hot seat, but warm seat. There's a little bit of a difference again, and we'll see how things play out with this offense. But Davis Webb is another reason. Davis Webb, if you know, quarterbacks coach of the Denver Broncos, had quite a few to do with when it comes to drafting Bo Nix, right? He ran those workouts with Bo Nix reportedly. I think Davis Webb's a guy that, again, the development of Bo Nix not only hinders on Sean Payton, also hinders on Davis Webb as well. And I think that he's an up-and-coming coach on this coaching staff that I think it might be getting a promotion sooner rather than later, depending on what happens with Bo Nix in this offense. I think Davis Webb would be a guy that other teams will look at and say, maybe he's our OC if things turn out well in Denver. That you get a guy under the Sean Payton, good offensive mind in Sean Payton. There's teams that do that all the time in the offseason. You pick their assistants off their staff.
Oh, yeah.
Davis Webb, for me, I think Sean Payton would have to promote him in order to keep him around. I wonder if Lombardi wouldn't be the guy that would be out the door. And you bring in a bright offensive mind like Davis Webb coming in here. Maybe he's your OC. Again, there's a lot of maybes in there. Things are going to have to go the right direction. But it seems like Davis Webb being a big part of the Broncos drafting Bo Nix, or at least part of more of the process of drafting Bo Nix. You would think that they have bigger plans for him possibly down the line if things turn out like the Broncos hope that it would.
Okay. That's a lot to unpack, man, because you went double dip on that, man. First, you went Joe Lombardi on me, and then you went over to Davis Webb. But I'll be honest. Go ahead.
No,
man.
I said no. I was saying that was a reason why Joe Lombardi's also on the warm seat a little bit because of Davis Webb being promoted to OC, based on what how things may transpire with the Broncos offense this year.
Yeah, fair enough, man. Well, you kind of led me into my guy. And by the way, Pearl, I think, is your now biggest fan. It seems like every time I go into the comments, she's like 100% Trevor. Never 100% Keith anymore. That's okay. That's okay. Trevor's got great opinions and great thoughts and great ideas, and we appreciate him coming in here and basting us with those thoughts, man, because they soak in. Like a basting a turkey, man. I don't know why I'm going to basting a turkey in the middle of July, man. It's 96 degrees outside right now as we speak. So, but it led me over to Davis Webb, and I think this is a guy that has a lot to prove. A lot to prove. This is a guy that was brought in and was supposed to be the coach for Russ. He was supposed to be the coach for Jarrett Stidham. I guess Ben DiNucci as well. Russ only got us so far. Nobody was happy with Stidham in his performance in his last two games. Everyone's now on the Bo Nix train. Don't want to give Stidham a chance. So his future kind of rides with Bo Nix in a lot of ways. Because what else has he proven? That he's been able to get mediocre performance out of a Super Bowl winning quarterback? That he's able to take Jarrett Stidham and turn him into meh? I mean, Davis Webb has gotten a lot of accolades from a Sean Payton, but as far as what he's been able to produce, he better not fall flat with Bo Nix. Bo Nix better not go out there and look like he doesn't know what the heck he's doing, and then comes around to a Davis Webb as not that great of a coach, because we kind of understand how good of a coach that Sean Payton is. So there's only one other step in that in that cog in that wheel that we went down. I think Davis Webb has a lot to prove this off season in this training camp. I'm going to hold your thoughts for just a second on that, because I want to get to the posse a little bit. Pearl's coming in and laughing at my comment that you get all the love now. I got to get to Kenny saying good evening to the Batman and Robin of the Denver Bronco podcast, superheroes Keith and Trevor. Good to see you, fellas, man. So good to see Kenny Kirkpatrick, man. I'll tell you what, he took a little vacation as well, and well, I think he went with Kurt, as a matter of fact. And that being said, we've missed you guys. We missed you guys a lot, man. It's good to have you back. I want to get to Paul's question, but I just want to say hello to a few other people. Let's see if I have anything else in here that's really big and that we need to talk about. Everyone's talking to each other a little bit. Kenny Kirkpatrick does come in and say Davis Webb will be the OC really soon if Nick succeeds, and that is the other side of things. I think that is a possibility. Rick Diaz coming in saying good evening, gentlemen. How are you doing over on YouTube? Good evening, Rick. We're talking a little about coaches that need to prove something. Paul, though, came over on YouTube. I didn't even get a chance to read this whole YouTube comment, so we'll just roll with it. Paul's coming in, and we appreciate Paul coming in over on YouTube. He says, do you feel like Atlanta is in a similar situation as the Broncos in that they are paying a veteran QB and have a quality rookie QB? Broncos don't have Russ anymore, but saddled with the contracts. Do you feel that in a lot of ways, I guess you could say almost from a salary cap standpoint, you're in a similar situation as what they have going on in Atlanta. And I can draw the comparisons. I can see the lines. They're not straight lines, maybe a little zigzaggies, maybe got a little hump in them, but I can draw the lines in between those two. What do you think, Trevor?
I think there's some connections there, but I wouldn't compare them too much just because based on the teams, I think Atlanta has more expectations than the Broncos this year. As far and I'm saying from an outside perspective, I just think again paying veteran quarterbacks, they both are paying veteran quarterbacks. Cousins is still on Atlanta's roster. He's going to be their starting quarterback until proven otherwise. Denver right now they're going with Bo Nix, hopefully going with Bo Nix right away. And Russell Wilson's often in Pittsburgh. So I think there are some similarities there. Denver's still paying Russell Wilson, but I think there's also quite a bit of differences between the rosters, where the rosters are at with Atlanta and Denver and the expectations, as well as the quarterbacks of where they're at currently, because the Cousins still in Atlanta, Russ is off in Pittsburgh, and then just where these teams are constructed right now. I think Atlanta, Raheem Morris, their head coach, I think has a little bit more holding expectations. Atlanta's going to hold a little bit more expectations of where we need to be a playoff team this year. We went out and spent the big money on Kirk Cousins. We've got also a lot of offensive threats that the Broncos just don't have right now. And you're still trying to find out if Bo Nix is the guy, is truly going to be the guy, and still trying to build this roster around him, if so. So there's some similarities, but there's also quite a bit of differences between the two as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Zigzaggy lines, maybe got a little hump in it, goes squirrely around, but it gets there. I understand the comparison and where he's going there. I also wanted to get this one from Paul. He says, I like Vance Joseph. The reason I wanted to bring this up is because, well, no one says that on our podcast, and I appreciate that. He says, no talent to work with. And one thing I wanted to talk about, and I heard on another podcast, and they were talking about draft classes. The 2022 draft class, if you look at that draft class, it has done no favors for the defense. 4th round pick, Damari Mathis. 4th round pick, Awazarike. 5th round pick, DeLaron Turner-Yell. We have Montrell Washington in there as well. We have Wattenberg. We get into defensive lineman, Matt Henningsen in the 6th round. Fayon Hicks, cornerback / safety. Where are these guys? These are guys that you hope after a couple years developing in the league, they're starters. And most of these guys are big question marks. If not, where are they even at all? Or will they even be allowed back in the league? This 2022 draft class that was defensive heavy did not help out the defense, including Vance Joseph. So good call out by Paul. I wanted to give him a little shout there as well. So back on track, man. Let's get one more in the books, man. I want to go one more, coach, coordinator, whatever you want to speak, that, has a little bit to prove heading into training camp in this season.
Well, that's all that I have as far as coaches to prove.
That's all you have?
That's why I say it's limited of what I have, but I think the guys that I have, it's the tree expands out to multiple other guys, and 2 guys in Davis Webb and Jim Leonard who were former players who could possibly get promoted from 2 guys, and with Vance Joseph and Joe Lombardi, who just has something still to prove. So that's what I have. Again, I don't think there's too much expectations right now with this Broncos coaching staff. It's sure if Sean Payton wants to make some changes, of course, I think he's going to do it. But again, this team is still not rebuilding, retooling phase. I don't think a lot of these guys have to worry about their jobs being in jeopardy as of right now.
I'm going to go right here where I was like, hey, I'm going to maybe give you some some options, but Michael Ronquillo called one out. I want to get to this. Oops. Hate it when things jump. Michael Ronquillo says our tight ends coach is on a warmer seat because the tight end position hasn't been good. Declan Doyle. Here's a guy that's been actually in the league for quite a few years, 5 years in the league. How do you feel about his position? Then I'm going to get over to Phil McLaughlin, who logged back on.
Yeah, that's why I left him off my list, because the talent in that tight end room isn't exactly the greatest, I should say. The Broncos haven't done a great job of pouring their assets into that. Yeah, of course, with Greg Dulcich, and they just haven't got the return on that yet. But you're talking about Lucas Kroll, undrafted. Adam Troutman came from the Saints. That was a Sean Payton guy. So, I mean, it's just like Yeah, I mean, you can hold him accountable and maybe change coaches, tight end coaches, but is that really going to change things with this tight end room? I just think that you need the talent. The talent's got to be there before you can like just get rid of that coach. And I just that's why he's not on my hot seat or warm seat as of right now, because of the lack of talent that's there in that tight end room. Again, Dulcich hasn't panned out yet, but Dulcich was before any time, before he came here. So I can't blame him for that one. You want to develop these tight ends, but so I guess it's a wait and see. But right now, I just don't think he's on the warm seat. Just like again, based off what Denver has done as far as improving the tight end room.
All right. Well, I only had one other one in my list that I really wanted to talk about, and I'll let you kind of take the mic and maybe give your thoughts on it. Lou Iana. Here's a speaking of a guy who had a stellar college coaching career, Northwestern, just developed, champions out of that division, and comes over as a running backs coach. Does Lou Iana have something to prove, especially after what we saw last year, what we saw as far as the performance? It seemed like, McLaughlin was out there maybe getting something done all on his own. Javonte certainly wasn't looking great. P. Ryan kind of did what we expected P. Ryan to do, nothing more, nothing less. But now he's got a stable of backs. He's got a stable of backs that that is at his, fingertips. They're ready to go. It's his choice where we go and how far we can go with this running back room. Lou Iana, in my opinion, has a little bit to prove heading into training camp in this offseason. What say you, Trevor?
Yeah, Lou Anea, I think that, again, he was a guy that I was considering, and I do think we'll have to see how the running back room develops over this year. If McLaughlin turns into that star, is this a guy that possibly gets a chance to get promoted as well? A lot of this is based on performance this season. What happens? I don't think these guys are getting fired too early on in the season just because. I think it would have to really go poorly for these guys to get fired. But I can see it with Javonte because Javonte is a former second-round draft pick. Again, the argument against that would be, well, it's not his fault because Javonte got hurt. So,
yeah,
I can see it in a way where he would be, on the hot seat a little bit. Again, I can't sit there and blame him for how Javonte Williams got hurt, and you have a lot of undrafted guys possibly making this roster. So it's hard to blame a positional coach when you have undrafted guys you're bringing in and expecting them just to produce these guys and get them out there. So I think that's definitely a name to keep an eye on, like many different positional player coaches, but I don't think that his seat is essentially warm because I can't blame him for Javonte Williams being hurt. Javonte Williams being a second-round draft pick per se as well. And on top of free agent sign with P. Ryan, and then a couple undrafted free agents that you're hoping pans out, but you're not really committing first, second round draft picks or big money to the running back room either. So,
yeah, I would like to see Javonte not run into the back of his offensive lineman either, and maybe a coach could help out with that a little bit as well. Me and you were on slightly different pages, but it worked out, man, because we were very much like hot seat. I'm just looking for some of these guys to prove something. Yeah. And this might be, hey, let's prove it. Let's make it work. Let's go forward. Not like, if you don't do this, well, guess what? You're working at Hardee's next week, Carl's Jr. if you're in a different area. But I'm not looking for necessarily those guys. I don't know how many of those guys we necessarily have on our staff that are like super hot seat. It's like this guy's better performer. He's gone. I think a lot of people feel that's Vance Joseph, but I don't know if Sean Payton's on that same page as everybody else is.
Well, and I was gonna say to finish up my this topic, what's behind to replace those coaches? I think that's also you have to look at that as well, and that's why I say Lombardi, because you have other guys behind him to replace him. One, and again, Carmichael being brought in this offseason, and then you have Davis Webb, who things pan out well, he could possibly be promoted. VJ has Jim Leonard, so that's why those two guys stuck out to me in particular. Again, Vance Joseph has been talked about for a while, but Lombardi I don't think it's talked about enough, and I think that you could argue there's more replacements for a guy up for Joe Lombardi than there is a Vance Joseph, in my opinion. that's where
Yeah.
I was going to, where I think Lombardi, you can make that case that he's maybe more of the positional player coach that's on the hot on the warm seat a little bit, just based upon what Sean Payton has done this offseason and some promotions for some other guys that Sean Payton would like to keep around. And I don't think that you're bringing in Davis Webb, having them be a part of the getting, Bo Nix, the whole process of getting Bo Nix, if you're looking to get rid of him. I think
Oh no.
so I think a guy like Davis Webb is a guy that Sean Payton would like to keep around, even if he has to promote him and let a guy like Joe Lombardi go.
That's where we may differ a little bit. I'm just like, I think that Davis Webb really needs to perform. I know that he's high on Davis Webb. He speaks well of Davis Webb, but yeah, I think there's a little bit more to prove there, man. Nothing to prove. Never on the hot seat. Phil came back in and got back on, sending some love. I haven't necessarily seen it, Phil, but I'm never going to call you a liar. You're a fantastic supporter of the show. We appreciate you, and we appreciate all the love and support and stars and comments and questions that you and everybody bring. And man, talk about just growing and growing and growing. You guys are absolutely amazing. We love you guys. Appreciate all the new faces that we see every single week, man. But all the love and appreciation should also go to our fantastic sponsor, Morgan Trinkets. Morgan Trinkets is your place for Southwest jewelry, Southwest pottery, and estate gold at wholesale prices. And I'm telling you what, guys, once a nationwide company with 33 years experience now, they're kind of shrunken back and they're concentrating just on that northern Colorado, southern Wyoming area. And they're rocking it, guys. They are rocking it. Shows left, right, and otherwise. You guys got to check them out. How do you check them out? How do you buy all this amazing Southwest jewelry, pottery, and estate gold at wholesale prices? You head over to Morgan Trinkets on Facebook. That's Morgan Trinkets on Facebook, guys. And if you go over there, find the piece you like, or you don't find the piece you like, just message them. They'll find the piece for you. They have a big, big catalog of inventory they can go through. And all your purchases are shipped for free as long as they're over $50, and they transact through PayPal over on Facebook. But if you're in that area, northern Colorado, southern Wyoming, I highly suggest you go out to one of the shows that they're at. Not only have a great time because they go to great trade shows as it is, but then you get to stop in, talk to Pearl herself, find those amazing pieces, and then all your transactions can be done by any major credit card as well. Morgan Trinkets is your place, again, for Southwest jewelry, Southwest pottery, estate gold at wholesale prices. And by the way, silver, if you're looking for silver, that's your place as well. All sterling silver starts off at $10, going all the way up to $2,000. Morgan Trinkets is your place to be. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to post that link here in just a second, man. But this is perfect, man. You kind of came up with this agenda, Trevor. So I'm going to have you go to where we're going next as I get that link out to everybody and I check our chat and our private chat.
Yeah, so then our next topic, again, is going to be 3 positional players, and we have training camp coming up here in a couple of weeks, so we want to kind of discuss training camp. I think it's the appropriate time to discuss training camp and players that we just need to keep an eye on. So we have 3 guys that want to keep an eye on. Keith, I will give it to you first. Who do you what's your first guy that you are keeping an eye on? Again, you possibly will be at training camp, so you'll get first-hand look at a lot of some of the guys in the field wearing pads and everything. Who's the first guy that you're looking for and keeping your eyes on coming up in training camp?
Man, I'd be a big liar if I didn't say my first eyes didn't go to Bo Nix, right? Yeah. For all of those who don't know, and I don't think many of you do, my daytime job is one like no other, and I tend to get reminded of my own job every Sunday as some ABC, NBC, CBS, or Fox has decided to put up a quarterback carousel. Yes, that's right. I run a carousel and ice cream shop. We were busy today at 96 degrees. But goodness, I am so done with the carousel. I'm done with veteran quarterbacks, with, late round hopefuls, with, somebody's discarded, I don't want to say trash, but you know what I mean? It's just like discarded leftovers that they have that they just no longer have a need for or want for, I'm done. And I need Bo Nix to come in there, and I would be nothing would make me happier than to see Bo Nix out there just commanding, just throwing dimes, just perplexing the defense. I asked the defense last year, I asked Justin Simmons last year if they were going to make it, if they were ever going to make it easy on the offense, and he says, "Well, iron sharpens iron," something that you hear a lot in NFL locker rooms, I guess. But I would like it to be the other way around. Bo Nix, are you gonna ease up on the defense at any point, man? You gonna make them feel like they're doing okay out there? I'd like it to be the other way around. So that's got to be my first one, man. That being said, I'm gonna get to your first one. I'll check more of these comments and the chat.
Yeah, so for me, this is a guy that has been talked about, in voluntary mini camp and mandatory mini camp as being a guy that hasn't looked too great, hasn't looked too crisp, and it's going to be Javonte Williams. I mean, I think, again, I want to watch and see what Javonte Williams will do in pads, and I've said that multiple times about all these guys. Just because, again, that's when we're going to get the best out of them. We're going to get the best look at these guys. That's in training camp, that's in preseason. But Javonte Williams for me, because he has something, I think, does still have something to prove. He's a former second round draft pick. I think this is a guy that has got to prove to the coaches that he is the guy. I mean, I think it does say something that Sean Payton stuck with him last year, even when Javonte wasn't 100%. But I think Javonte Williams just coming in, showing out, hey, I am your number one running back. Jaleel McLaughlin, sit the bench. I mean, that type of thing. Like, that's the mindset he's got to have. I want to see aggressive Javonte Williams. I want to see Javonte Williams when he first came in the league. You remember him coming in the league for, barreling through guys, had 3 or 4 guys on his back. I mean, again, it's just like he just was such a dynamic running back, and I just think that he could change a lot of different things if he came through and was that same Javonte Williams as we were hoping to see. I know I hype up Jaleel McLaughlin quite often, but Javonte Williams, I think that he's got something to prove, and I think he's a guy I'm keeping an eye on because I think as players, you try to not really hear the outside noise, but I think you're going to hear at some point in time it's going to come through. I think Javonte Williams got something to prove, and I think that he's going to come in and he's going to be ready to go and take that number one running back job away and then say that it's his. Again, going into contract year as well, so he definitely has even more to prove than anybody else.
Yeah, that's so true, man. If I remember the stat correctly, 2.8 yards was what he was averaging, down to 2.2 yards. Basically knocked off almost a full half yard off his average. That's huge, and a lot of that was yards after contact. What you were talking about, those angry runs, those carrying the Dallas Cowboys on his back. You know what I mean? And just driving and going and grinding and just like being like, oh my gosh, this guy's going to win the game all by himself, man. Yeah, I would a lot to prove. Yeah, a lot to prove to be back to that point, man. That's a good one, man. That's a really good one. I got to rewind through these comments just a little bit. One of the fourth horsemen, Jody Moncrief, coming in again saying, let's be real. Peyton is on the hot seat. Not ready to call that one quite yet. I think that's a year or two down the road, me personally. That's a debate that maybe me and Jody can get on another day right here on the screen. Ernie May says, Keith and Trevor, you guys are awesome. The greatest podcasters. Love to hear you guys talk Broncos country only, man. Talk about love. Holy cow, man. Appreciate that. Ernie, making me blush, man. I got a pretty good tan going on right now, which is, something to do with summertime right now. He says, I thought this was a fantastic call out because I'll eat my crow a little bit. And Phil's having me eat my crow a little bit. He says, man, I cannot blame a running back coach until that offensive line gets their act together. Yeah, that O-line was nothing to put up for Pro Bowl nominations last year. And that's something to be remembered, Phil. It doesn't matter if you paid big guys, like McGlinchey and Powers. Doesn't matter if you have a great guy like Miners. Doesn't matter if you have Cushenberry, who played well enough that he got paid someplace elsewhere. These guys didn't play all that well, especially as a unit, as a team. Sometimes as individuals. And I think there's something to be said about that, Phil. Maybe I should lay back off of Luiana until the O line kind of gets their everything in all their stuff in a scoop. I'll put it that way. Try to keep it PG around here. So, um, Paul's liking our microphones. I appreciate it. Linebackers coach. If you're looking for inside linebackers coach, that's Greg Minuski, Michael. So just a little insider on that, kind of catching up. Kenny had a question a long way back. I want to see if I can find it because I feel bad now because I was going to go back to it. But let me see if I can get it. Thought I had it. It's not here. Oh my goodness. Oh well, Kenny, if you want to repost a question, please do. I forgot. I totally forgot that you had a question earlier, and now I'm having a hard time finding it. Please repost it. So, Michael Ronquillo is coming in, and he's got a few on his list. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll drop this one in. He said one for him that he wants to see is Marvin Mims. Two for him, and I understand this, especially like we were kind of hoping for a little bit more. Zach Allen. And I think that includes Marvin Mims, right? Let's face it. Marvin Mims was looking fantastic and then all of a sudden was shelved. Zach Allen had pretty much the entire season, but we wanted to see more. And then John Franklin Myers is his number three. Sorry, the way I'm speaking. And Paul's wondering what's up with Javante's lack of TDs. I'm going to go back to Phil's comment, the O-line, and back to what Trevor was talking about a little bit. In that I don't think we saw old Javante last year. I think that we're still waiting for old Javante, and we're talking about yards after contact and stuff like that. That's very expressive at the goal line. But let's get to your number two, man. I've rambled on enough. I try to catch up on some comments, and then I do see that Kenny's got his question, so we'll go to that next.
Yeah, so for me, because you picked Bo Nix, of course. Bo Nix was a guy that I love, but I'm not going to go the Bo Nix route. I'm going to go Riley Moss. Again, I think Riley Moss has something to prove. He really does. I'm going to keep my eye out for him because I think part of this defense improving. We just kind of talked about it with Jim Leonard. Is the secondary, and I think the secondary with Justin Simmons being gone now, Fabian Moreau is now gone. So I think that Riley Moss needs to really step up and be that outside corner on the opposite side of PS2. I think not only is that going to help the Broncos defense, but I think it's going to help PS2 becoming even better corner as well. Because now you have, again, imagine if Riley Moss does pan out and he ends up being that solid corner. Now you have two corners, really three with McMillan that you don't want, opposing quarterbacks aren't going to want to throw to. So Riley Moss for me is a guy that it's part of that 2023 draft class that needs to step up. Talk about lack of production. Look at the 2023 draft class. Marvin Mims, the only guy that you've seen production out of. Again, Drew, we're not going to probably see Drew Sanders for a while. Riley Moss hasn't turned into anything yet, so he's still got something to prove. He's a guy I'm keeping my eye out because he needs to, come up to be better. He's got to be better. He's got to make sure and prove that he belongs. We've heard there's some positivity towards Riley Moss that he looks good. Doesn't seem like they're moving him from cornerback to safety anytime soon. So it sounds like that they're determined to make Riley Moss an even better corner, and that's where he's going to be on this defense side of the ball. So Riley Moss, the guy that I'm watching, got to be better. He's got to be the starter, in my opinion, next to PS2 this coming up season.
Yeah, I could definitely see that, man. There's a couple of guys from that draft class that I really wanted to see perform, and Riley Moss was one of those guys. It took a long time for him to get back to, playability, I guess you could say, and then he, had a little bit of a special teams role, but that's not where this guy needs to live. He needs to live on the defensive side of the ball, and he needs to produce. And I agree. I'd love to see Riley Moss, man. For those of you who don't know or have forgotten, freak athlete, man. Long, lengthy, can defend towards the boundary like nobody's business, in my opinion. It really is able to, again, push that receiver towards the boundary, use his long body, pretty much making an uncatchable ball. I'd love to see him go out there and start producing for the Broncos, man. Sometimes you're walking through, man. Maybe you're walking through the orchard, man. You see that heavy bowed branch with that low hanging fruit. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll pick it. I need to see something from Greg Dulcich, man. Greg Dulcich is, you know, in a contract year, we've had little to no tight end production. We're talking about a former pitcher in Lucas Kroll who came late to football, being our savior at tight end at this point. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous, you know? So if there's a time, the time is now. And this is the guy that I'm going to be watching a ton of. I'll be honest, the first year when I went down there to training camp, Greg Dulcich I was like, uh-oh. NFL is going to be put on notice if this guy keeps going, if this guy keeps, developing at the rate he is, because he's already a freak athlete out on the field. And then year 2, I saw him after he came off that injury, and I'm like, doesn't look the same. Doesn't quite look like he has that it type of factor. Greg Dulcich needs to have it back. And if I get down to training camp, I'm going to be looking for it from Greg Dulcich, because we need it. We need production out of this tight end position. I think it's been, beat down and talked about enough. But I'll take that low-hanging fruit on this one, buddy. I'll take this low-hanging fruit. I'm going to get to Kenny's first question. And I love this one, since I serve up ice cream on the side. It says, Keith, if you had to pick a flavor of ice cream for Bo Nix, what would it be? That's a good one, man. Boy, I'm gonna let Trevor go. Trevor, do you have any thoughts around this, man? Because I'm like going through all my flavors I have at work. But do you have any thoughts on this ice cream flavor? I'll come up with one here pretty quick. I'll make a decision here. But
well, I'll ask you this: is that what's that ice cream that has the vanilla and chocolate together?
Well, they have vanilla, chocolate, strawberry. It's Neapolitan.
Well, like just regular vanilla and chocolate, just like the two ice creams just split down half and down half, and they're just together. To me,
you're
that's
talking like soft serve, like the swirl almost. Yeah.
And I say that because it's night and day. That's what it's going to be for Bo Nix in his rookie season. Night and day. We're going to see some very good moments from Bo Nix, and we're going to see some like, I don't know, why did the Broncos draft this guy? That's why I say, for me, that's the kind of ice cream I would pick, based on just, again, the rookie quarterback. And I just think that you're going to have to go through your struggles to get better. And maybe Bo Nix does struggle early on, but he then eventually down the line, he gets better. So you guess you could say that night and day would be more towards the night first being the bad and the day being the good down the line. That would be the ice cream that I would pick, a mixture of chocolate and vanilla together for Bo Nix for me.
So if I had to choose a flavor that I serve, then I'm going to go by name choice. And I'm going to say what Bo Nix hopefully delivers us out of. And that's one of our favorites there at the Great Northern Carousel, and it's called Stuck in a Rut. French vanilla ice cream, caramel swirl, and Rolo candies all in your ice cream. That's stuck in a rut, man. But we have been stuck in a rut as far as the production in our quarterback room. And I'm looking for Bo Nix to change that, man. I'm ready for him to kick that stuck in a rut, throw that down his gullet, eat it all up, and be done with it. Because I'm done with being stuck in the quarterback rut, man. We're ready for Bo Nix to lead us to the future, man. So that's my ice cream flavor for Kenny. We'll get probably maybe one more question from Kenny, but I want to get one more player from you before we get out of here at least, man. Who's one other player, if you had a chance to be down there at training camp, have your eyes on, be watching, eyes glued, got your binoculars out. I think I got them off to the side here. I might grab them. Anyway, who are you watching, buddy?
For me, it's going to be Alex Forsyth. I mean, again, we talk about the center position. I know some of the names aren't flashy. You can go down the list and add multiple guys on this team that you would love to see just produce and be better. But for me, Alex Forsyth, because talk about like Luke Wattenberg, he might be. There's rumors and talk that he might be the starter. Well, if we remember, Luke Wattenberg wasn't a Sean Payton pick. That was Alex Forsyth was a Sean Payton pick. Who did Sean Payton go to ask about Bo Nix? Alex Forsyth. For me, I want to see Alex Forsyth really take over that starting center position. Again, 7th-round draft pick. Not a lot of expectations, but Denver in years past has been pretty good at developing centers. When centers leave, you've got big shoes to fill with Lloyd Cushenberry on the move. I want to see Forsyth and Bo Nix. I don't want to see Wattenberg and Bo Nix, and mainly because Wattenberg for me is more of a guard. I think Forsyth just has the size. I think he's and I just think that he has the tangibles to be the center. And I think it does say something that Sean Payton went to him about Bo Nix. I think Sean Payton's really hoping deep down that Alex Forsyth is that guy for multiple different reasons. But I just think Alex Forsyth, if Denver's going to get any production from the center position this season on their offensive line, I think Alex Forsyth, to me, has the most upside, and I think just gives the Broncos a better chance at running the football and just being productive on the offense side of the ball, as I think Wattenberg is more of a guard. So Alex Forsyth is my last guy on my list, and I'm really keeping my eyes out because that's a position that the Broncos need to get figured out, and you have big shoes to fill with Cushenberry. I just think Forsyth, ideally, you want him to be that guy.
Yeah. I'll be honest, man. If I get down there to training camp, for a multitude of reasons, I'll probably have my eye on that center position, whether it be Wattenberg, Forsyth. Sounds like Mustipher, or however I say Mustipher. Some people say it otherwise, but Mustipher might be on the outside looking in. So I might have to worry. Sorry, PJ. That being said, I'll be looking. I'll be wanting to look at that center position. That's a big one for me. I pleaded, I banged the table for Cushenberry coming back, being signed. I find it funny, no disrespect to any other podcast, but some are like, we need to go out and we need to find a veteran center. Well, that's what we had. You know what I mean? That was my whole point. You know what I mean? It's like I felt like we developed a guy and then let him go. So now we're in that boat again, and we'll have to develop him. But I don't think going and finding another veteran center is going to be our option or our solution that we'll have this year. I think we're going to be stuck with what we have. And I don't say stuck in a bad way, because I do have some hope when it comes to a guy like Forsyth. I do have some hope because the coaching staff are really in love with Wattenberg as well. And it's kind of funny, even though PJ Mustipher hasn't necessarily had his best career out there, he has certainly a lot more starts. So at least it gives you that veteran presence in that, I guess, center position room, if there is a center position room. Lots of flavors coming in for Bo Nix, but I got to give this one to Kenny, who came in with the question, also comes in with the answer, probably the best one. He says, cookie deal for me, Keith. Everyone loves it, but I don't care for it much. Being the stepfather and being more of a Giants fan, I can only imagine, man. It's why I love having Kenny on here from time to time, that outside perspective, because we all get like hyped up and get all the love. I mean, go listen to Kurt Valente. At one point, it was all JJ McCarthy. Now it's all Bo Nix. But check out Kurt Valente on Let's Talk Broncos, and he'll tell you what's up about the Broncos on Wednesday nights over on the K&K Sports Show. So one other guy that I really want to see, that I would keep my eye on, this will be my last one, buddy. And it's just a guy that I feel made a big step last year. By the way, his coach got a big step up last year as well. He was only the edge coach. Now he's the defensive line coach, and that's Jamar Cain. And was coaching Nick Bonito since college and then came over to the Broncos last year. And I really feel like he got a different level out of Nick Bonito, a level that we were all kind of hoping for, because we knew that he had pass rush capabilities, but we were all concerned about his run capabilities, run stop capabilities. And he went out there, and I think that he played very well and surprised a lot of people. Now, if he could take one more step, and he levels up, now we're talking about an elite athlete, and we don't have an elite edge. You've been talking about it, man. We've been talking about it. Where are we needing? What do we have? Where are we lacking in that edge position? It feels like we have a lot of, well, maybes, but not a lot of, we got it. We nail it in. We've got our edge rusher, at least one. doesn't I would love Nick Benito to be that guy. And that's the guy I'd watch out there, see if he's taking that next step. The reason I say that is because there's hints from what we heard from OTAs that once again he is taking that next step. And that would be huge, huge for this team, man. I don't feel like I got to the posse enough. I know that Phil came back in and dropped stars, and it was 200 stars because Trevor let me know in the private chat. Appreciate you, Trevor. Co-producing tonight as we get through the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast. But man, we're right at an hour, man. It's kind of a crazy, man. We kind of rounded out. We were talking about maybe rating the offseason, but I think we're going to be rating that on another evening, guys. But perfect time, man. Like I said, right at an hour. It feels a little bit odd, just kind of ending it just about right here, but lots of love for for everybody in the posse. Trevor, why don't you give us some final thoughts, unless you had something else you need to add, and then give us some final thoughts. I appreciate both this. Like, I appreciate the posse who's been in here just giving us some love tonight.
Yeah, and I definitely appreciate everybody joining us tonight, and I hope you guys enjoyed our agenda. Again, we'll have that off-season agenda coming out. We will rate all of the moves the Broncos have made this off-season, what we think is more important on a scale 1 to 5. So keep an eye on that. That'll probably be one future episode when we get to that. But just want to thank everybody tonight. Great show. I do want to add something about Alex Forsyth. Again, for me, and I think we all should hope for this. Alex Forsyth, part of the 2023 draft class. Luke Wattenberg, part of the 2022 draft class. If Alex Forsyth pans out, you have more control over him than you would a Wattenberg, than you would a Mustipher. Mustipher is on a 1-year deal. If Mustipher is your starting center, there's a problem, in my opinion, because if he plays well, he's probably out the door because you can't afford him. So I know that we talk about Broncos in the cap space and stuff like that, but we also talk about last episode about a couple guys they're going to have to pay as well. Meet one being PS2 and then Meinertz as well as Garrett Bowles. So for me, it's just, again, Alex Forsyth, if we want a center to be here long term and be that position just kind of be set in place, Alex Forsyth should be a guy that we all root for because, again, I think that he just brings so much to the table as far as size. And again, you have more him under contract longer term, and he's been with Bo Nix before as well. So all the signs for me should point towards Alex Forsyth. We shall see if the coaching staff feels the same way. I want to thank everybody tonight. Our posse, you guys are absolutely amazing for sending stars, for just being here, asking us questions. You guys, again, it just makes our day being here for you guys. And this is what we do. We do it for you guys. We have the best fans out there. We love the support you guys continue to give us, and we can't wait to continue to bring you guys better content that you've never seen before on Denver Bronco Roundup. So continue to stay tuned for more. And just want to thank everybody for everything. Appreciate you guys, and we'll see you guys on Friday. Have a great, safe week. Thank you, everybody, and go Broncos.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Michael Ronquillo is coming in here late with some big stars as well, saying great show tonight, Keith and Trevor. Big hearts, man, which big hearts go out to you. Love you, Michael. Appreciate the stars. Dropping it in. A big thank you coming in from Pearl for a great show. Kenny's coming in, which I tried to hit, but I didn't. Great show as always, fellas. Paul's coming in just on the last topic, saying Jonah Ellis is good. He will save the Broncos some money in future contracts. Yeah, if he goes out there and performs, is that capable edge rusher that could certainly save us some money. A good call out by Paul as well. Got to give a shout out to Pearl too. Pearl has her new puppies that are incoming, and we got all on this puppy talk for some reason. First, I got to get to, I'm sorry, I lost track just a little bit. So she says, my new puppy is named Don't Mess with Texas, Tex for short. Nice, cute, love it. And then Kenny came in and said, Kurt is naming his and Jen's next dog Bo Nix, but Nix is spelled Knicks because he's a Knicks fan as well. So Yeah. As long as he calls him Bo for short when he's in trouble, I'm all good with that. I'm all good with that. So, Broncos first, baby. Forget about those nasty nicks in the garden. I'm just giving you a bad time. Boy. Thank you to everybody. Fantastic show. It's easy to tune out this time of year, and we appreciate that. Not only have you guys stayed on board, stayed watching, but we've been growing in this downtime. And like Trevor said, man, if you think this is great, just wait until the season kicks off. Just wait until training camp comes along. If I can get down there, fingers crossed. I had a little bit of bad news, but I'm hoping still to get down there. Just wait for what's to come. We appreciate you guys coming in, sharing the experience, being Denver Broncos fans, showing the love, being in here, liking, sharing, subscribing. By the way, if you love this show, well, it happens twice a week, guys. 7:15 every Tuesday, every Friday. Rocky Mountain Sports Network. That's who we're brought to you by. This is the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast. I love this comment as well. If I can get it real quick. Oh, jeez. You guys are killing me. Albert on vacation. No, he's not on vacation. I see that as well. He's just doing a little bit of training. Someone came in here and said a big thank you, and go out there and get some trinkets. And our sponsor is maybe that was the one. Oh, no, that's the wrong
Paul.
one.
It was Paul.
Yeah. There you go. There we go. I'm sorry. That was Paul. Oh, that was Pearl. I'm sorry. There we go. Paul saying buy some trinkets, because guess what? Morgan Trinkets, like I said, if you didn't catch that sponsorship at the very middle of the show, Morgan Trinkets, Southwest Jewelry, Southwest Pottery, Estate Gold at wholesale prices, all that beautiful sterling silver. That's the place to go. Morgan Trinkets over on Facebook. Go check them out. You guys are fantastic, wonderful, beautiful. We appreciate you guys so very much. Can't wait to get back here on Friday, man, because it doesn't seem like we get enough time with you each and every episode. Stay tuned. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. And, of course, as always, you know what to do. Make sure you keep your feet in the stirrups. Make sure you keep those guns in your holsters. Make sure you keep the Broncos in your heart. And we'll see you guys next time. We're out of here. Have a great night, everybody.